Get ready to dive into the dynamic world of professional wrestling like never before. Introducing the Violent Volumes podcast, your ultimate destination for riveting narratives and ringside action. Hosted by the talented Dan Rice, this podcast takes you on a thrilling journey through the written word and the world of wrestling. From one of the minds behind violentpeople.com, you can find Violent Volumes on Apple, Spotify, and most other podcast platforms.
This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
All right, everybody, welcome to the WWE Podcast. It is Sunday, May 5th, 2024. Hope everyone enjoyed the PLE that was in France yesterday afternoon or night or morning or whenever the hell you watched it. An interesting event, one that didn't exactly give us a ton of surprises, one that didn't exactly shock the world, but there's a couple stories coming out of it. We have new tag team champions on the women's side of things. We got some good wrestling overall, and the crowd. And we're going to start with the crowd in just a minute, but I'd like to welcome all of you who have joined us over the last few weeks. Thank you for joining us over at patreon.com. You can check us out there for ad-free everything and a Discord server that's exclusive to those of you who are on Patreon, so you can chat about wrestling anytime, especially during live events, which is a lot of fun. And also on Apple Podcasts, we offer a 7-day free trial as well there, so thank you, everybody, for joining us here on the WWE Podcast. Now, the crowd. The crowd. I have been very complimentary towards most of the, if not all, if not the international crowds, because they put the United States crowds to shame. They embarrass us. I'm from the U.S., obviously, and the energy that they bring when they're overseas, whether it's Puerto Rico, even Saudi Arabia, although sometimes Saudi Arabia has started to kind of slip a bit, but they generally have been louder than the United States crowds. They go to, where did they go last year? For Clash at the Castle, wherever that was. They go into Australia this past year. They now have gone to France. And the list goes on, and they're clearly trying to make a global effort. They have a global strategy that Vince did have and conquered to some degree, but they have done and will continue to do more live events under the Triple H regime. And that's good. It's great. You're a business. You want to expand globally. You've kind of maxed out, capped out, leveled out on your United States core audience. You know you have them forever, and now it's time to expand. And I totally get it. I have nothing against the company at all for doing it. I applaud them for it. Is it a little bit inconvenient for us in the United States who have been spoiled for decades that we have to watch a PLE or try to avoid social media if the hour of watching the event live is not convenient? Yes. But now we get to experience what everyone else in the world beyond the U.S. has to deal with, right? So those are minor inconveniences. And, when you go to these crowds, I appreciate the energy they bring. They certainly brought it in France. You guys absolutely, we're off the charts. I have never, ever seen the crowd or the hard cam shake because of how loud and the sustained energy that was in France was just crazy. Sustained energy was just how do you guys do that? It's quite amazing. And they did add to a lot of the show where in typical U.S. fashion, you'd get your, you kind of know when the crowd's going to get into it, when they're not. The middle of the match is kind of a low point, and they come back when they feel the finish is coming. The sustained energy throughout the show is almost impossible to think about. It's almost impossible to comprehend for those of us, especially in the United States. And it does add a lot to the show because there's never a low point. There's never that point where you just kind of feel like things are going to kind of slow down. There's always something to be chanted, always something to be said, always something to be sung. And I do feel like that crowd, when there is an energy that high, it's really hard to have a bad match, because even if your match sucks, it's deodorized by how insanely involved the crowd is. And I applaud everyone in France because you guys added a lot to the show. Now, here's where things for me have taken kind of a weird turn. I don't know French. Most of us listening to this, most of us don't know French. Outside of bonjour, right? That's about where the end of our French, our knowledge of French is, right? For most of us. So listening to the crowd chant for 3 hours, and you're sitting there going like, what are they saying? It's annoying because you kind of feel like an outsider. And I heard some of the things they said. It was even the things they said in English were very much in a very heavy French accent. You have 20,000 people in a very heavy French accent. On the few chance you kind of understood what they were saying, it was heavily accented, and nothing wrong with that. It's just when you're dealing with a crowd that is yelling and chanting, and you don't know what they're saying, it becomes annoying. It also felt like at times, and boy, I know I'm going to get some feedback for this. I know, and that's fine. It almost became too distracting for me. Now, somebody may say, so wait, a crowd was too invested, too loud, isn't that what this is all about? Isn't that what you're constantly, saying matters? Yes. But there does come a point where it feels like they're not interested in what's happening so much in the ring, and they're more interested in going into business for themselves. And at times, while admittedly I can't hear a lot of what they're saying, I heard a lot of repetitive chants, repetitive songs, which I'm sure are also reverberated during your soccer, or your, as you guys call it, English football, during your matches, right? I understand that. But when you hear them over and over, then that means they're not a really unique chant for the match going on in the ring. So it became, for me, while I appreciate the energy, and anyone that hears, oh, he's complaining about the crowds being too loud. No, there's no such thing as too loud, but the purpose for me in my mind shifted from, are they even really paying attention to the match at times? Or are they just more into business into business for themselves, where they're chanting and singing, and it's like, is this even relevant to what's going on? If I could have a translator, is this even relevant? Now, I'm sure we have those that are, I do have some French listeners who are podcast fans. I don't know for how much longer after this podcast, but we'll see. I just found myself listening after like the first hour was kind of endearing, kind of fun. You've heard it before. Oh. And then Bailey, will you be my girl? All that, like, okay, got it, get it, great. But then it just didn't stop. And you'd hear the same things over and over. And it became a distraction for what's going on in the ring, for me. Okay, that's my own personal opinion. You may strongly disagree. Those of you who are in attendance, I know a few of you strongly disagree. This is just how you go to sporting events. This is the energy you bring to sporting events. And that's cool. I'm not deterring you from doing that. And again, overall, I think you added to the show in a tremendous way. But it's the first time I can remember watching a wrestling event, thinking to myself, is what they're saying even relevant to what's going on, or is this them just wanting to hear themselves? It felt a little bit like that. So that's just it's a thought that ran through my head. I was getting a little bit annoyed, and it's just is what it is. I'm not asking everyone in there to, brush up on their English and chant in English so I at home can understand. Of course not. You're in France. You're going to speak French. I get it. I'm not complaining about that, but it's just the circumstance of sitting at home and going, what the F are they even saying? Like, and it gets annoying. It's like listening to a lecture for 3 hours with a professor in the classroom, and he's speaking 95% of the time in a language you don't understand. It gets super annoying after a while. Okay, and it's, again, obviously nothing against the French, nothing against the French language. My heritage is actually French. I'm actually mostly French Canadian, believe it or not. So I know most of you didn't think that way. Probably said, "Oh, who cares? It was loud, it was great," and that's fine. It's all well and good, but you can't tell me it didn't wear on you a little bit. Like, it's same chance. Can you guys just shut the F up and watch the match once in a while? Like, I felt like that. Like, can you just watch the match? And maybe that's their way. Maybe it's just a different culture. Different culture, different way of viewing their sporting events. I think that's also the thing, and the fact that they haven't done a PLE in France yet. Big deal. That is a big deal. So again, those of you that think I'm hating on the crowd, hating on France, I'm not. In fact, I've complimented them much more than I've been a bit critical. It's just that it's annoying as a viewer that doesn't understand French, with the constant yelling, the constant chants, the constant breakout in song, the constant, like, it felt a little bit much at times. So again, that's it. That's all my critique is. Now, the one thing I will say about WWE, they did make a point to say that this was the largest grossing gate for a PLE or a live event ever or something, which is, it sounds a little bit too much. I have to look at the stat. They said it was basically their biggest gate of their in their entire company's history for a live event. Okay, let's just take that at face value. Is that really a flex? It's not a flex. You know what a flex is? Sellouts. Numbers of people, not numbers of dollars. You don't bring in numbers of dollars, even in a indirect way, into the company's show. Okay, you save that for the press releases. You save that for the stockholders, shareholders calls. You save that for Wall Street. It felt a little bit icky for me, for WWE. Again, nothing with France, nothing. WWE gouged France, and France paid up. That's not a referendum on the French people at all. You want to go to a live event? Have at it. I totally understand why you'd spend the money. If I was in France, I probably would have too. But I'm talking about the company basically patting themselves on the back for saying, hey, we made the most money ever at a live event tonight. How do we do it? Well, I don't know. We didn't increase the seating. The seating was what, 15,000 people, 20,000 maybe at the most. Maybe not even that much. Might have been under 15. I have to see the seating capacity. It was simply gouging the tickets prices. That's it. They gouged ticket prices to then say, hey, we now have the largest grossing gate, because everyone was paying like 2.5, 3.5 times what they normally would have. So everyone is essentially paying in a house that says 12,000 people are paying for a house that would have normally 36,000 people, if that makes sense. So anyway, they mentioned that a couple of times, and I'm like sitting there going, bruh, this ain't a flex. It's not a flex to say you just charge the most you've ever charged for a live event ever. It's, hey, I'm all for, again, you want to tell me you have this number of sellouts, that number of sellouts. Cool. Great. But don't talk about dollars. The largest gate? Oh my God. Oh Lord. Anyway, it was just a weird, icky thing for me, because most people go, like, kind of brush by it, and we're thinking, who cares, right? Like, who cares? It's just a WWE stat. But this one for me was just, because I know I've talked to a few people that have been looking at the ticket prices and have attended the event, and it was absurd. The ticket prices are absurd, but people paid them. People paid them. Now, the overall pay-per-view, beyond the crowd, which again, I really enjoyed. I appreciated the energy. It felt more like though I was watching a English football game than I was a wrestling event. It felt like if I watched I'm just going to call it soccer. I'm sorry, I can't call it football. If I was watching a soccer game, I would be seeing and hearing the same thing, same chants. So again, they probably do view wrestling in that same category as all of their sports. And it didn't feel like a wrestling crowd. It felt just like a sports crowd. Again, you hear me complaining. It's not a complaint. It's just how I looked at it. And I didn't hate it. And I'd rather have a crowd like this, certainly, than one that's quiet. Absolutely. But the event overall, very predictable, almost down to its like a fine detail of predictability. And you kind of knew that going in. You kind of knew going in, hey, they just came off WrestleMania. Nobody outside of the Women's Tag Team Championships, anyone has a chance. There's no chance. It's a matter of can they make you believe for a moment or two and how good are the matches. And that's it. And I think generally they delivered. Not exactly a star-studded lineup, but you had some really good wrestling. You had a new Bloodline member debut. You had new tag team champions. And by the way, has anyone seen Seth Rollins lately? He and Becky Lynch came up on a somebody's, and this could be an outdated photo. I don't think so, though. We had Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch show up at the Kentucky Derby, and Seth shaved his beard. It looks weird. I don't hate it. I just am not used to it. We've seen Seth with a beard for 12 years. So anyway, it could be an outdated photo, but if it's not, he could come back looking totally different. All right. So from Lyon, France, we got Kevin Owens coming out and got a massive reaction. Randy Orton comes out, and we get a really good tag team match that I don't think anyone expected to be this good. And boy, was it violent right out of the get-go. I mean, these four guys beat the hell out of each other. Credit to all four men here. Oh, my God. The crowd was obviously very much into this. Good for them, as they should be. And I had, again, people are going to come out of this saying, he's really pissed at the French. No. Just the last thing I'm going to say. I generally really appreciated the energy they brought. It just becomes annoying when you don't understand the chants and you're listening to something for 3 hours straight without let up. No idea what they said. And that becomes very annoying. That's all. That's it. It's not a referendum on the French people, not a referendum on myself. It's just hey, most people didn't understand it. That's all. Very good match. Did the right people win with KO and the Bloodline? I'm sorry, KO and Randy losing? Yes, because we had Tonga Loa, who came out and took the referee out. Although the footage that has leaked online, we had Tonga who completely botched the spot, couldn't get out of the ring on time, and the referee had to take himself out of the ring. It was pretty funny. You know, haven't seen it, go look it up. Somebody recorded it. But the angle on TV came across perfectly. But clearly, on the real footage, the referee pulled himself out of the ring. It's really funny. That said, hey, I enjoyed the debut. I thought we were going to get a new Bloodline member. We did. Solo's building his own new Bloodline. It's building perfectly and laying the foundation perfectly for a Roman Reigns return in a month, 2 months, probably towards SummerSlam. As we get into July, I think we can really start talking about it. Maybe Money in the Bank is when I think we'll maybe start really talking about a Roman Reigns return. And it's going to be a whole lot of fun when that happens, because instant babyface. Solo's now kind of appointed himself the leader. What do we do? He's got a bunch of men behind him. Jimmy will probably back Roman. Maybe even Jay comes back into the fold. And then the boss comes back. Rock is here. Here we go, part 2. It's going to be a blast. It's going to be a blast with Roman Reigns and The Rock back. At that point, the bloodline looks different. But again, that's many months in the future. We are now talking here about KO and Randy versus the bloodline. RKOs were well done. There was even an RKO. There's an RKO on the table, I believe, and the announce tables got their usual beating of a PLE. And there were stunners to the security, which is so funny because Nick Aldis comes out and he rewards the attack on security by giving them exactly what they want, or punishes them, right? He's like, oh, well, this isn't going to happen here tonight. We're going to give you exactly what you want and we're going to reward bad behavior. But hey, it worked out and it made much more sense for a no disqualification match. And we had Tama Tonga, who I think did a really nice job throughout the match, getting beat up, kendo stick shots, chair shots. Really, really just, I'm sure he's sore as a mother effort today. And just a nice, well put together match that ends with KO and Randy losing, as they should have. Solo and his group are on a mission. That mission is to establish their own group under their own rules without Roman. And Paul Heyman now, if you watch his body language, is not happy. He doesn't know what to do. He defends and supports the bloodline, but first and foremost defends and supports the tribal chief. So I think you're going to have Paul Heyman turn on this group eventually and join Roman when he returns. It's going to be a blast. I can't even wait. But very good match. What was it? The Brainbuster onto the 4 chairs was just crazy, wild, just wild. Well done, better than I expected matchup. And this isn't over, right? This isn't over yet. Bayley then takes on Naomi and Tiffany Stratton. The "Hey Bayley" chants, the "Will you be my girl" chants. Tiffany got some chants of Tiffy time, and Naomi didn't get much of anything. Naomi's just, it feels like she's just slotted right back into where she was before she left. And that is just kind of, people like you, but that's kind of where it ends. And I don't know if it's a lack of just organic connection with the fans, or they haven't really the company hasn't decided to really push her to the level that many of us believe she could be at. I mean, it's tough. It's tough. And Naomi, so she was clearly the third wheel here, and Bayley won with a roll up on Naomi, and Naomi then congratulated Bayley after, and Naomi just feels like it could have been a heel turn here, and it wasn't. I was waiting for Naomi to turn, and that may be the best thing for her, honestly. Naomi not joining Damage Control, just going rogue, going heel on Bayley, I think would be a blessing for her career. It needs a kick in the ass. Naomi needs a kick in the ass. Her whole character does, and I think that would have been a good thing to do, but they didn't. So, but Bayley winning, right move. Totally the right move. Let's see. We then got Damian Priest and Jey Uso. It's exactly what you'd expect here. Really good wrestling and interference from the Judgment Day. We had JD almost F things up for Damian. We had Finn Balor come out and get eat a super kick from Jey Uso. And there were some yeet, no yeet chants. And so the crowd was into this. And we then had, I'll get to that in a minute. I'm reading a review here. But Priest ends up winning after he had Judgment Day interfere, and he hit Jey Uso with South of Heaven from the top rope. And then Priest had some tense words with Judgment Day members Finn and JD, who continue to kind of do their own thing and not listen. So we'll see how the evolution or dissolution of the Judgment Day continues. Then we got, well, as far as Damian Priest goes, that was the right move too. He's a transitional champion, but he's probably a top tier transitional champion, if that makes sense. We had Felipe Chirot. I don't know. He's a French commentator talking about the largest live arena gate in WWE history. I don't know what that means. Again, even if they charge 3 times the price, are they really telling us they made more money from people paying tickets here than they did at WrestleMania, where it holds 70,000 people? I mean, seriously? I'd like to dig into that stat a little more, but my no matter what the stat is, even if it's kind of splitting hairs at that point, because my principal argument against it feeling icky remains the same. You don't talk about, I mean, how do you make an announcement? We made the most money from any crowd from you guys tonight. Give yourselves a big hand for giving us all your money. You know, that's essentially what they said. And everyone's like, yay, we're part of history. And then probably looking around going, hey, wait, whoa, wait, what? What do you mean the largest gate? They didn't mention number of people. They mentioned gate, i.e. dollars. Hey, thanks for being a part of the crowd that gave us the most money in one single night. I mean, it's ridiculous. You put these things in privately. You make maybe a footnote in a press release. Like you don't do that stuff. I know it's to give an outward appearance of success, but you're also insulting the intelligence of the crowd there. All right, then we get to the next match here. Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair, who obviously won and defeated the Kabuki Warriors as expected. This match really surprised me in a big way, in a good way, because I have been very critical, and I stand by it, of Jade Cargill, who seemed to be all steak and no sizzle, as JR would say. All show, no execution, limited interaction in the ring. She didn't exactly move smooth in her first few matches, and it seemed to be just, oh my God, are they going to just do this the rest of her career? Well, no, they're not. It seems like she can go the distance. She said she wants to be a household name. Well, you got to deliver in the ring and to be a household name. And Jade delivered. Now, she didn't work the majority of the match. She was the hot tag recipient, as she should be. But she did a very nice job here. The power maneuver into her finish, Jaded, was insane. She easily, I mean, this isn't saying much, but had her best match ever in WWE. Best match ever. And it was awesome. Now, did they screw up the timing of a military press? Yeah, who cares? Who cares? I mean, this to me was that was a forgotten part of the equation. It was about Jade getting minutes, not minute, but minutes. She got several minutes. She had a number of maneuvers we've never seen her perform. It was a relatively, although not completely flawless execution. And I think this is where Jade Cargill has finally arrived. If you're going to look at it, okay, physically, sure, she arrived many months ago. But she has, from a character perspective, from in-ring mostly, she has arrived. And now she is the one half of the women's tag team champions with Bianca Belair. Very nice match. This to me was the surprise of the night. Not in the finish. We all knew that Jade and Bianca were going to win, but in the execution and what Jade could deliver. And good for her. And Bianca, of course, always does what she does, and that's just be the best pure athlete WWE has. She's incredible. And I think her working with Bianca, not just on a kayfabe level, is good for her career, but also in real life. I'm sure Bianca is helping to coach and work with Jade. They have similar body types, although Jade's jacked a little bit more. They have, again, but muscular, strong women. So Bianca knows a little something about it, and I think she can help coach Jade. And if that's the case, it's working. I would not split those two up until Jade is 110% ready to be on her own. She's going to benefit from having to split the workload while also getting to work next to and learn from one of the best that wrestling has to offer on the women's side of things in Bianca Belair. This is going to be a lot of fun. I just wish Jade didn't cut her hair and dye it silver. I liked her other hair. It's just my personal preference. But this was a great performance for Jade. For Bianca, it's just status quo. You know what you're going to get with her. Always top quality. And you know what? Even for Kairi Sane and for Asuka, who has never meant less in her career, they still did a really good job themselves, helping sell, being there when they need to, the timing, the comebacks, feeding into the babyface, all of it. They did a very nice job. But I think Jade and Bianca are slated for a long run as women tag team champions. Now, the key is to not have them go into the abyss and to have them actually featured regularly, or at least semi-regularly, on SmackDown. So we'll see if that happens. Then we get to the main event. Now, did anyone ever have any doubt about this main event? Did anyone ever have any doubt? As AJ Styles loses to Cody Rhodes, and it was exactly what you thought and hoped it could be, with Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles, a wrestling clinic, two professionals in the ring doing what they do best. Just brilliant stuff. AJ never hit a finish in that match. Never hit a finish. Now, Cody obviously did. He hit his signature, well, it's not his finish, but his signature Cody Cutter, i.e. a RKO, i.e. Diamond Cutter. But it's still, to me, very interesting. AJ never got his finish hit at least even once. And I also appreciated this. Cody Rhodes only hit his finish, the Crossroads, once and got the pin. That's the way it should be most of the time. How many of us, though, looked at that and go, he's going to kick out. It's only one Crossroads. We shouldn't think like that. So the more they do this, the better. So I appreciated that. Now, there was one spot that I didn't have I wasn't exactly excited about. AJ Styles hits a burning hammer on Cody, and he kicked out at 1, and it sent the crowd into an absolute frenzy, and it reminded me a lot of WrestleMania 18 with The Rock and Hogan, where Rock hits the rock bottom on Hogan and doesn't even get a 2 count deep into the match, and Hogan just gets to his knees and starts hulking up. It looks like Cody Rhodes watched that match right before this one and said, I want to do that. Now, I could be wrong, but essentially he's hulking up. Out of nowhere, he gets this adrenaline spike, and some people are claiming, those of you that say Cody Rhodes is boring, look at this. Yeah, sorry, that's not a convincing piece of evidence that Cody Rhodes isn't boring. I don't think Cody Rhodes is boring. I just think he screams heel. And his babyface character is, it's incredible that it's as over as it is. It's almost impossible to believe, but it is. And I'm in the minority, but he still puts on really good match after really good match after really good match. And so did AJ Styles doing his part. Now, is this a program that's going to continue? Is this a program that you could see moving into the next chapter 2? We'll find out. I wouldn't hate it, but it seemed like it was definitively a one-off, only because Cody got the victory, and then that was that. There was no weird stuff afterwards. There was nothing that you'd say, oh, well, I don't know. You could point to this and this and this. Not really. This was kind of very much a definitive win for Cody. And yeah, so there were some chants for AJ, though. There was some pro AJ chants. AJ did wear ring gear that was a callback to the NWA Championship against Dusty Rhodes. Once again, we have to bring in Dusty. I don't even know what to say about it anymore, with Dusty being brought into everything, whether Cody mentions him or his opponents mention him, or people just everyone weeps at the sight of Cody and goes, oh, your dad would be so proud. Your dad, your daddy. Oh, your dad. Oh, let me tell you a story about your dad. Shh, it's just shut up. Everyone shut up. And not because I don't like his character, just even if I loved his character, Cody needs to stand on his own. Cody needs to fully step out of the shadow of his dad. And he can still be very successful, which he has been, and still be in the shadow of his dad. And he's kind of thread that interesting needle. But can we please separate and have a story, just one? Outside of Brock, maybe even Brock brought it up, but that doesn't have to do with his dad or someone wearing ring gear that they worked with his dad in. And I understand the apropos and the poeticism. I understand all that, and it's feel good, and it's blah, blah, blah. Okay. Can we, it's been 2 years of this. We can't monetize his death any further. I think we have squeezed all of the emotional juice out of his daddy's death that is possible. We need to move on and have Cody and his opponents, not just Cody, he's not the only one responsible here, cut promos and talk about the match without having to any way, whether directly or indirectly, reference his dad. We need to do this. We need to do this. And even those of you who are massive Cody fans out there, you have to agree with me here. You don't have to, but I'd encourage you to, or maybe I'm hoping that you do, because why do you want Cody to constantly lean on his dad? I mean, it is partly due to the creative team who continue to find a way for every single program to bring in the name Dusty Rhodes, whether it's now the ring gear with AJ Styles, or someone brings up his dad in a promo, or he brings up his dad in a promo voluntarily. And it's just like, I don't know. Maybe I'm making a mountain out of a molehill. I do that a lot too. I've been known to do that if you've listened to me before. But a good win for AJ. I'm sorry, good win for Cody. This isn't going to hurt AJ Styles in any way. AJ will be who he is. He is Teflon at this point. I have no concerns about AJ Styles' career, but I do wonder where he's going after this. And where Cody's going, for that matter. Now, I did see a little bit of SmackDown. I haven't talked too much about it. LA Knight, my God, the pop. LA Knight may have gotten the biggest pop of the entire event. I know that he was on SmackDown. I understand that. But I'm saying on the out of the whole weekend there, I think LA Knight may have gotten the biggest pop. Now, those of you in attendance can confirm that, but it very much sounded like LA Knight got one of the biggest pops of the night, if not the biggest pop. And they totally also stomped all over Paul Heyman's intro, which was interesting. They knew every single word. They also chanted to some of the songs. And hey, they're passionate wrestling fans, and I appreciate that. So France certainly delivered. And we also now know, breaking news, if you haven't heard already, where WrestleMania 41 is going to take place. And that is, no, not Minneapolis. Sorry, Minnesota. Las Vegas. So WrestleMania 41 is now coming to you in Vegas. Even stranger, it's April 20th and 21st, I think, which may be the single latest WrestleMania of all time. Now, they could be doing this because of March Madness. There's got to be something going on that first week of April that they couldn't do it that week. But they're doing it the third week of April. Again, this may be the single latest WrestleMania I've ever been a part of in my life. Got to be a reason. There's got to be something going on in Vegas, I would imagine, the first couple weeks of April. So we got to push it out. But think about how long it's going to be between the Royal Rumble now and WrestleMania 41. It's going to be a long time. I mean, we're going to have to go through a whole season. It's going to turn from winter to spring. And, then we're starting thinking about WrestleMania. It's going to be just a long, long, long time. But that's obviously way, way down the line. But WrestleMania 41 has now been announced. The location has been announced. It is in Vegas. And, I thought about going. It's not exactly super warm in April, I don't think there. You can kind of hit and miss. It could be 50. It could be 80. You don't know. And if I'm going to go somewhere in the springtime, I need it to be warmer, because here in upstate New York, it doesn't get consistently warm until the end of May and June. So you have June, July, August, and then it starts getting cold again. So you have 3 out of 9 months where it's actually warm. So we'll see. Obviously I have many, many months to decide, and already a match card that's being laid out in my mind with Rock, Roman, maybe Randy and Cody. That's kind of already some 2 matches. What do you guys have any matches? How about that? Let me throw it out to you guys. Do you have any WrestleMania 41 matches? Not off the wall ones, not hot takes, but ones that you think are very logical. Do you have any logical WrestleMania 41 matches now that the location has been chosen? And we have, my God, was it May? So we have 11 months and change, almost a full year now, with how late WrestleMania is next year until WrestleMania 41. So, hey, just a quick thought out there. Do you guys have any matches that you want to, or do you think will happen? So that'll do it for me tonight, guys. A little bit of a shorter show. I know that usually these weeks in review are longer, but it's not really a weekend review. You heard the SmackDown review from Michael Ritter, so I'll let you listen to that if you're interested in a SmackDown take. But also, it's really about the PLE here. It's really about Backlash. Tomorrow is the current state, and then Tuesday's the Raw review. No rest for the weary here on the WWE podcast as we continue to crank out content almost on a daily basis for you guys, and I hope you enjoy it. If you want to go ad-free, patreon.com/WWE podcast, or Apple is a great way to go ad-free as well. Click that subscribe button. That'll do it for me tonight, guys. Thanks so much for joining me. Talk soon. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the WWE podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.